it's D-Day in Pakistan today as the country elects its new government. A total of 849 directly elected seats are up for grabs, including 272 in the National Assembly and 577 seats in provincial assemblies. In the fray are three main parties led by three very different individuals. You have former cricketer turned politician Imran Khan, whose Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf is challenging the incumbent Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. The PMLN was dealt a big blow after former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was arrested on corruption charges. The third player in the fray is Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, son of assassinated Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto, who heads the PPP. To talk more about this big political event across the border, I'm joined now by Chris Kay of Bloomberg News, talking to us from Karachi. Chris, thanks for speaking with us today. I'm sure it must have been a busy day for you, but could you capture the key points of voting day today? Of course, there's been a terror strike right at the beginning of the day in Quetta, where 29 people were killed.
Yeah, it's been really marred, the day, unfortunately. There's been a multitude of smaller attacks as well across the country, but by and large, otherwise, it's been fairly peaceful. I can't really comment on turnout and how it's compared to. I'm sure we'll see that later. But yeah, there's been a heavy army presence across the country. About 370,000 troops were deployed, and they were in and outside the polling station. So security was quite tight on that front. So yes.
By when would we know the results, Chris? Because I believe counting starts almost immediately in Pakistan right after the elections. So by when would we know if there is a clear leader? And if you could also tell us about the various exit polls, because it seems to throw up a sort of a hung assembly at this point.
Yeah, you're quite right. Pakistan's election results come quite quickly. So we were actually already seeing some of the results being reported. There was a 7 p.m. deadline on results coming out, but there have been some exit polls coming out. They're not very detailed, but they are saying that Imran Khan's PTI is ahead of Nawaz Sharif's PMLN. The exit polls, again, the details are kind of sketchy at the moment, and the results, they're only sort of trickling through. You're talking about, a couple of seats here and there. So really at the moment, it's still uncertain what's going to happen. Previous polling showed that both parties were neck and neck, and really the crucial province here that everyone's looking at is Punjab, because it accounts for over half of the National Assembly seats, and both the two main parties have been really fighting it out over there. Basically, whoever wins Punjab wins the Pakistan election, and it was the stronghold of Sharif's PMLN. They won a vast majority there in the last election, but Imran Khan's party has been seen to chip away from there, courting some of the feudal landlord politicians, some of the electables, those types, this election. So it's seen that he'll probably win a number of seats from there as well.
For all of our viewers and those who do not follow Pakistan politics too closely, if you could give us a quick snapshot, Chris, of the key contenders and possible prime ministerial candidates. Of course, Nawaz Sharif is out. He's in jail, so Shahbaz is possibly the one who will be the next prime minister if his party wins. But if you could just give us a snapshot of where they all stand in their key positions: Imran Khan, Shahbaz Sharif, and of course Bilawal.
Yeah, sure. So Shahbaz Sharif, as you said, Nawaz Sharif, his older brother, was jailed, so there's no chance of him getting re-elected as prime minister. Shahbaz was the chief minister most previously to Punjab province, so he's got a real tight grip on that area. He developed a reputation as a very sort of aggressive administrator, very efficient. He oversaw a lot of the infrastructure projects there, particularly with the Chinese projects. You talk about power plants, road projects, that sort of stuff. He's got quite a sort of tough, aggressive attitude, but he's not seen as big a draw as charismatic as his older brother. But he's also seen to have better relations with the army, which is part of the reason, or part of the alleged reason, why Nawaz Sharif may or may not have been jailed, or the troubles that the party have come across. Imran Khan is obviously very well known from his cricketing days. Also, as his career as a politician, he came into politics 20 years ago, and he's really built up his party and his attempts at at election over the those last years. And this is his best shot at power in a long time. But as you said, there's still it's likely to be a hung parliament whoever comes to power. Imran Khan has obviously gone on the huge anti-graft campaign. He helped bring about Nawaz Sharif's downfall. He wants to bring what he calls an Islamic welfare state to Pakistan. How he's going to fund that is I'm sure the country's finances are in a pretty dire state at the moment. And you spoke about Bilal as well. Obviously he's got that legacy, that dynastic legacy of the Bhutto family behind him. The issue is his father, Asif Ali Zardari, who has a terrible reputation for corruption, which he's denied any allegations about. He ran the country as president between 2008 and 2013, and the party really went into decline after that. They've become a very provincialised party within Sindh, and Bilal has been trying to reinvigorate the country, the party even after that, and they're not really seen as in shot with power. They'll possibly be the third biggest party in parliament after this election, though.
Chris, what has been some of the key issues that have prevailed during this entire election campaign? Because from the outside, of course, we hear a lot of anti-India, diatribe from perhaps in Imran Khan and others. But what are the issues that these leaders are taking to the voters now that they've cast their votes? What have they been promising them?
There's been a fair amount of talk about boosting the economy. The PMLN's been trying to campaign on its infrastructure projects that it's brought in. It did sort of usher in the Chinese investment. You're talking about around 60 billion that came in. So that's been one of the key issues, and that's been a real sort of vote player as well. A lot of people obviously look at their living standards and inflation and things like that, and see who's brought that in. Imran Khan's party has been really quite aggressive on the anti-corruption side of things. That's resonated with a lot of young voters. You're talking about people who want change. Pakistan's really been ruled between three sorts of players for the last few decades. You're talking about the Bhutto's Pakistan People's Party, the Sharif's family from their PMLN, and the military, really. So for a lot of people, Imran Khan sort of symbolises or supposedly bringing in sort of change. He's pledged to root out corruption in state institutions and all that. So those are kind of the two sort of main things as well. This has all kind of gone on while there's been a lot of sort of controversy over the military's alleged interference in the election as well. That's been another sort of key issue that's played in as well. Imran Khan
I'm coming to that. In fact, Chris, I wanted to come to you on the role of the military, because one really wonders, and this is a question a lot of people ask about Pakistani elections, that how much does it matter at the end of the day who becomes prime minister, seeing how great the influence of the military has been in forming the foreign relations and other key decisions in Pakistan. What has been your understanding of that key question? Will the keys to the castle, in a sense, be still with the military no matter who takes charge?
Look, I don't think anyone's under any illusions, at least privately speaking. You talk to diplomats in Pakistan, and as we have, and they're very sort of the sense that whoever comes into power, it doesn't matter if it's Imran Khan, Shehbaz Sharif, there's going to continue being this civilian-military tension. The military is the dominant force in Pakistan. It's ruled the country directly for just under half of its existence. And it's got clear sort of demarcations on its domain. It controls foreign policy. It's got a huge stake in the economy, and obviously security as well. And those are kind of sort of red lines that the civilian administrations have never really been able to sort of get a grip into and to hold. The military's the theory goes that the military wants to bring about a controllable government, potentially under Imran Khan, who ideally under a hung parliament. A weak civilian government is good for them. apparently, and that's kind of, there's been a lot of accusations from journalists, activists, even the two major political parties, the PLN and the PPP, about widespread harassment, press censorship, intimidation. People have been very vocal about it this election. Criticizing the Pakistani military isn't something that's taken or done lightly in this country. There's a lot of fear around doing that. But the fact that a lot of people have been vocal about it, and there's been evidence of, Dawn newspaper, for instance, have said its circulation's been plummeted, was not been allowed to sort of go into certain areas. Speaks to some of that. The military's repeatedly denied, all of these allegations, and said it wants free and fair elections and it's not interested in politics. Imran Khan's repeatedly denied that and says this is a big conspiracy. Yeah. But yeah, I think going, whoever wins, it's going to be an issue going forward. How to sort of mend this kind of military-civilian dynamic that you've seen over decades in Pakistan.
I guess the other big challenge, Chris, will also be that whoever wins will have to grapple with a very tough economic condition. What are the key challenges that the new Prime Minister will face?
Yeah, I mean, basically, either party who comes in, the finances of Pakistan are shot. Reserves are at a multi-year low at the moment. The current account deficit is widening. Part of the problem is that Pakistan's exports, things like textiles, are waning. They're not competitive within the region. They're not getting enough foreign currency exchange. And at the same time, while China has been financing a huge amount of these infrastructure projects, that's also meant Pakistan's been importing a huge amount of machinery, goods for that. So that's really been a drag on that. Debt's been rising a huge amount. So I mean, from what it looks like, it seems pretty much whoever comes into power will have to go to the IMF for a bailout. This isn't particularly new territory for Pakistan. They've had 12 bailouts since the 1980s, and and I think it just depends right now. A lot of investors are looking about when that would happen, when it would likely happen. If there's a hung parliament, that's then, and there's going to be coalition talks, that's potentially going to kick the can for a while down the road. We don't know how long that might be delayed for. Some people might also be adverse to going to the IMF because there would be onerous reform clauses in that. There could be potentially tensions with revealing some of the opaque loans that China has given to Pakistan. Some people also might want to just keep ratcheting up debt, or trying to go to China for more financing. So China has been providing some sort of stopgap loans to Pakistan in the meantime in the past year or so. But it's unclear whether they would actually go, help Pakistan out in a certain sort of bailout that the IMF, in terms of monetary amount that the IMF would.
All right, thank you so much for that lowdown, Chris Kay from Bloomberg News Karachi, giving us the key details really of what to watch out in this election, what is important and what each candidate stands for. Once the results are out and we know who is forming the government in Pakistan, we will be looking at this issue more closely from the perspective of what it means to India and what the new leader could do to improve relations with India. So stay tuned for all of that on BloombergQuint.com.